everybody. I'm so excited to have you with us today and have a special guest with me to talk about interviewing online. Joining me to talk about this is Michelle Tullier, an independent career counselor who works with clients on complex issues of career decision-making, career transition, and career management. I wanted to talk with Michelle today to discuss interviewing online. Previously, this was a little more rare than it's going to be in the near future. And I wanted to ask Michelle more about putting your best self out there during this process. So thank you for being here, Michelle. Why don't you tell me a little bit more about you?
Sure. So it's great to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this. And yes, I'm a career counselor in private practice, working with all ages. And I have also worked for many years with people coming out of corporate situations in the outplacement world, where people would get career transition services after corporate layoffs, and also college and universities. I was at Georgia Tech as executive director of the Career Center there for several years until pretty recently. So exciting times to be a career counselor or career coach. It's tough, but it also feels good to be able to help people through this rough time.
How has your coaching work changed during this time?
You know, it does change. I mean, in some ways it feels familiar because I did do this work through the recession of 2008. So, you know, sort of been there, done that. It's not easy, but I also know, at least from that experience, that, you know, with the right strategies, with perseverance, people came out of that, you know, in great shape with their careers. But it's not easy and it's hard. Now for people, whether they're just in need of an actual job, the employment is the top priority, or whether they were in the midst of wanting to make a change, it is more challenging because now you have to factor in what has this global pandemic and the economic downturn done, you know, to your opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel where there's change like this, though, there's opportunity? Do you see it as an opportunity to reinvent as well?
You know, there certainly is. It is still important to think about, what do you want to do? What's the right career direction for you? What are the right sort of roles for you? And start from that premise, as opposed to, oh no, who's still hiring? Who's going to hire me? Or which careers or industries haven't kind of imploded, you know, in this unfortunate circumstance. So you start from that premise, and then you scale it back based on the realities, of course. The other opportunity is strategically to position oneself for, where are the pain points? And there are obvious pain points in the industries or the specific businesses or professions where there is, you know, that are really impacted by this in a negative way. But then there are also the pain points in terms of growth. You know, we see all kinds of businesses, whether it's online education, whether it's a platform like we're on right now, and many more, healthcare obviously, that are growing exponentially. And so if someone has some skills and ability to transfer maybe industries or type of business, it's all about just finding who needs what you have to offer and being more strategic about it, instead of just kind of putting yourself out there more randomly, throwing resumes out into the world.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about job interviewing online. I have a friend that got a new job last July, and she was used to flying from point to point for all of the interviews that she was going to have. And she did all of her interviews all the way up the chain of command online.
Yeah.
And she was actually never brought into the office, and she got the job, which was great.
Great.
But it was very unusual a year ago to do that entire process online. Have things changed? And as we come out of this pandemic, what's your prediction?
Yeah, they certainly have. Obviously now, all kinds of employers are retooling to be able to manage the whole recruitment and interviewing and hiring process online, because they have to now, as you know. And yes, I predict that this is really going to have a long-lasting influence. And I also try to stay on top of what recruiters are talking about, what hiring managers are talking about. So I follow blogs, and I'm on listservs, and I sit in on webinars. It's sort of like spying, you know, on the other side, so that I can kind of help my clients know what's on the minds, what's really the conversation going on the other side, the hiring side. And they are all over this. They are not only talking about how they adjust now, but what is this going to mean long term? And so certainly the skills people acquire now to be better at video interviewing and more comfortable with it aren't just for a temporary fix. It's going to be something that'll be around for a while. Of course, there will be some going back to face-to-face, but it's bound to change considerably.
What are some of the biggest mistakes that people make when they're interviewing online?
Yeah, in some ways, they're often the mistakes that can be made in person. But the biggest one I see when I work with clients in a mock interview sort of situation or helping them prepare, or even just in my online coaching sessions, because I've already been for more than a year working entirely online with people. So I see everything from the unmade bed in the background to the people walking through, the distractions, the bad eye contact, or rustling around in papers. So whatever the situation is, the one thing I think, if I had to really name one biggest mistake, it is not paying attention to establishing rapport in the same way you would in person, because there is something that is lost when when you're not sharing that airspace, literally in a room together. You don't touch with a handshake. You don't even sort of pick up on the scent of a person. Not that anyone should be wearing heavy colognes or perfumes, but we all have these sort of clues through our senses that are not there other than visual. So from the beginning, I would say, as most people know, first impressions are formed in just a matter of seconds. And so with video interviews, those first few seconds really matter. And if you are not realizing that you're already on camera and you're making faces, even though you don't mean to be, but you're sort of peering at your screen, trying to figure out where to click next or get your audio working, really important to practice that and get it smooth.
Okay.
And be aware that the minute you are logging into that room where the video interview is going to be, you might be on screen. Now, of course, there are opportunities to make it so the video doesn't come up right away, to have a still headshot of yourself showing while you're getting yourself fully on. But still, you just can't take that chance. It's the equivalent of walking into an office and making a great first impression with the person at the front desk and everybody you meet along the way. Then the rapport continues through the whole interview. The key there is that when we're in an actual interview and sitting across from somebody in real life, we don't have a mirror in front of us. We're not looking at ourselves while we're looking at them. And that is very distracting when you're online. Even if you have your own video really minimized and you're in speaker view looking at the other person, or whatever view is going to help you not be focused on yourself so much. But we're constantly playing in our head these messages about, oh no, that hair's out of place, or should I shift this way, or did I move my hands too much? And it all distracts from the connection with the person. You want to make an authentic connection with the other person. That's the rapport.
So what are your keys to making a good impression during an online interview?
A couple of things that I'm always reminding people of is, first of all, you mentioned notes, or having, whether they're on screen or paper notes. Very important not to have, something that you're looking down at, or to make it sound like you're reading. I mean, the nice thing about both a phone interview or a video interview is you can have notes, more so than when you're sitting in person with somebody, but you never want to sound like you're reading from a script. So you still have to do the hard work beforehand to make it all sort of, roll off the tip of your tongue more easily. And one helpful tip, if you don't want to have them on screen with you digitally, is a couple of Post-it notes around the top near your camera, so that you can still kind of keep that eye contact at about the same level, and not long involved notes and script points, but just simply a few key points to remind yourself, and maybe even one that says smile and eye contact, so that you're reminded of that. Another would be keeping in mind the length of your responses. I mean, usually responses to interview questions, depending on the nature of the question, of course, shouldn't go over a minute, and ideally they're, maybe 20, 30 seconds, and then you ask, would you like me to elaborate on that?
So is there anything else I haven't covered that you think it's important for people to know as they move into this time of doing online interviewing?
Yeah, I think one thing around the sort of future direction of this is that there's an increased focus on automation in the hiring process.
Okay.
And that applies not just, of course, to the applicant tracking systems that screen resumes and other steps of the process, but with interviewing, there has been a little bit of an increased use of video interviews where there isn't actually a live person on the other end, and you are being asked to record with video, to record just a one-way conversation with questions that are brought up on screen for you, or even an avatar kind of thing, which is even harder because you're talking to something not real.
Right.
So my point is that is something people should, first of all, not be thrown by, should be prepared for, and all the more reason to practice.
Okay.
And to know that this is here to stay.
How it is here to stay? How often does that happen? Is it only larger companies that are doing that? Is that a service people? How does that happen? Because I know that does happen, and it's an automated system.
That's right. It does. What I have seen so far is it tends to be larger companies who are going to invest in that technology, and also who have so many applicants coming in that they need to automate the screening process more than having a live human being doing the screening initially.
Okay.
But, it's also something that could appeal to tech startups and, others who really want to be ahead of the curve in how they recruit.
Tell me a little bit more about what your specialty is and how is it that you really help people in this?
Sure. In simplest terms, I say that I uncomplicate complicated career situations.
Okay.
What that really involves is helping people. I often use the expression, get out of their own way. People will feel that they're sort of spinning their wheels, they're overthinking something. And that doesn't mean that a lot of thought shouldn't go into this, and a lot of care and soul searching and reflection into career decisions and into the strategy behind getting new jobs. But I love to help people bring the process down to something manageable and where they can see their way out of the whatever dilemma they feel they're in. And so I really work with three main types. I work with young adults, as I said, who are launching careers. I also have sort of a specialty in those who are labeled kind of failure to launch. I don't believe that there is failure to launch, but it can sure look that way to parents or others who are concerned. Work with a lot of mid-career people, as I said, making career changes, contemplating how they can get a little more fulfillment out of their work, whether that's managers, professionals, executives. And then I have a third specialization, which has really been growing, which is in adults in recovery, those who are in recovery for substance abuse and related mental health issues. And again, of all ages, from young adults to mid-career, who feel that their careers are stalled or even kind of derailed because of the problems that they've had, the tough times they've been through. So I love helping them sort of see that there's hope and strategies around some of the challenges that come with that. Okay.
Well, those are such valuable services, and I hope we get a chance to talk again, because
I would love to.
There's a lot more actually that I feel we could cover.
Oh, sure.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Michelle. It was wonderful to talk with you. I appreciate all these tips. I know they're going to be so helpful for my viewers. And stay safe and stay healthy, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.